All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a special episode of our podcast. My name is Oren Glickman alongside Jack Turell, and we have a very special guest, a man who needs...
Oren, it's the Katz podcast.
Yeah, well, you got to bring him in first, Jack, before you can officially dub it the Katz podcast. But a man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to give it to him anyway. One of the best Jewish in the game. I put him on a pedestal next to the likes of Larry Brown and Bruce Pearl. It is Coach Harold Katz. Coach Katz, thank you so much for joining us this evening and looking forward to a very fun conversation with you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I don't know what I did to deserve such great praise, but I'll take it.
Well, we could tell you. I mean, he's the godfather of the motion offense. He's a mentor to Coach Elliott Steinmetz, a mentor to some greats that you may have heard of, such as Ryan Turell, such as Simcha Halpert, such as Turell Goodman. I don't know if you guys watching back home know those names. And if you know anything about Jewish basketball, you know those names pretty darn well. And the father of, I want to say, the most underrated Yeshiva University basketball player of all time, Donnie Katz. I
affectionately known as the Big Sexy.
Yes, exactly. They called him Big Sexy. And I texted him this earlier, and I have to come out and apologize. Where Jack was wrong, and I was always enamored with Caleb, and you I said this to Harold earlier. Donnie is like that girlfriend you have where it's perfect. Everything's perfect. It's smooth. There's no fighting. You do everything, and then but there's no like volatility that you feel like you're missing the and then you mess it up and go for that that thought on the side, and then you realize 10 years down the line, boy, that was who I should have been with the whole time. Donnie was from, and I'm sure we'll get into it as we get on, but like from his leadership capabilities, that team holding the locker room down, his performances in the playoffs, you have to be a man to announce when you're wrong. And I drank the tea at the time, but being older and wiser is a time where you can admit you were wrong. So that's I had to get it out of the way. I have it out of the way. Now we could pod.
And one last thing I got to say, this is a lifelong dream come true for me. Coach Katz and I talked for years about being on a broadcast together. It never came to fruition. Right. To quote Coach Katz, he always said I was his favorite Max Live broadcaster, but maybe he said it back then while I had power, just to make me feel good. It's still accurate.
Yeah, with the exception of the wild ride that you go on with Jack on the occasion that he does the game, your play-by-play is legit. It's professional, and it's almost like you never had to wonder where the game was going when you were doing the game. You kind of got you're a friend of some of the players, and you didn't really bring that out. You stayed professional the whole time, and I always appreciated that. My wife more than anybody else appreciated it, and you knew what you were doing. Like a lot of guys, they go, "Okay, I'm doing a play-by-play on this game," and you kind of listen to them and go, "Dude, did you just come back from math class? Do some homework. This guy's been playing on a team for 6 weeks." You know what I'm saying? Like, well, they got this guy, and they mispronounce his name, and he doesn't really shoot outside. And you sit there going, well, that's all he's done for the last 6 weeks. So, Oren was never like that. Oren's a professional broadcaster. I appreciated that very much.
We'll see if I'm as good a professional podcaster. So, Coach, first thing that Jack and I really want to talk about with the YU Max, we're 4 games in, and I think there was a lot of pessimism from fans going in, especially opening with those 2 losses to nationally ranked teams in St. Joe's and Illinois Wesleyan. But I think you have to take it into context that a whole new team starting from scratch, and you lose by single digits to 2 nationally ranked teams. So we would love to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I'll add this: you lose by single digits to two nationally ranked teams without Max Zakheim, which I don't think fans understand just how good Max Zakheim is. Max is complete. He's a legitimate talent that we've played without. That will, I guess, fans who've been watching us play haven't really seen. Well, they think, okay, this is a great run so far. This is kind of cool. They're young and they're exciting. Max takes that to a whole different level. Max is the real deal, and I'm hoping he gets back relatively soon. So I think Max knows what we're doing. Max knows what he's doing. He's going to be fun to watch.
I think
right. And of course, I was just going to add, Max had the opportunity to train with some top Division I players, including, I think, what was his name? Kiss. I think he led all of NCAA Division I in scoring.
Could be, yeah. So, I think your original thought was that we don't, that the people were pessimistic, and we put. I had the opposite approach. I remember when I was talking to you, Oren, and I was telling you that when certain guys showed up, in particular Simcha and Donnie, things are just going to be different, because you need a core group, and then you can build out your core group. And there was a great group of Mikey and them, but they were leaving, and so you had to bring freshmen along. And we were kind of waiting for Daniel Sion, but he kind of took a while to get there. And then we kind of knew Gabriel was going to come at some point. That sophomore year. So you need a core group. This core group that they have, but just leave Zebby as
incredible.
Yeah, let's say Zebby's like a regular human being. So then you had,
which he's not.
Yeah, well,
he's not human. He might break Ryan's single season record as a freshman.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. But
what?
When you consider what we have going on, and I don't want to kind of push aside guys who are still here from the years past, but this group is what you kind of say, you just kind of, we're not a very patient people. That's kind of what we are, because we've had to grab our clothes and leave. That's why we eat potatoes and, chicken and eggs, because they're portable food. It's not like we're eating, we can't really eat bok choy, because we just never stay in a country long enough to do it. But we're an impatient people. And so in our athletics, we're mad impatient. So do fans have the patience to suffer through what's going to be almost like I anticipate, kind of a little bit of a roller coaster ride? At least I thought it would be a little more than it is right now. I thought we cleared the bandwagon a little bit. I think Zebby's kind of ruined that. I think, and kind of, yeah. And people are kind of hanging on. But in a sense, you have to be patient with a young group. And my thinking was, if we could just hang in there till February, we might be pretty good at that point. Because, young, and we could just kind of stay in the race a little bit here. And then at that point, you really never know. So I think fans may be surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I kind of got an up close view. So
I called this team to win the Skyline in July, and the ball about him have the text to confirm that. I'm not being a prisoner of the moment or Captain Hindsight. I thought when you have a guy like Samet who could get his shot off and could shoot at the elite level that he can, along with you get Elliot Steinmetz. He won a Skyline Conference championship with Bar-Aluf at his one. Bar-Aluf can't dribble with his right hand if you put a gun to his head. And he won a Skyline Conference with Bar-Aluf running the one. I thought you're going to have Samet. You're going to have Zakheim. Zucker's back. You've got these different guys who could lead. I didn't know about Roy. I didn't know about Dotan. But I know you have some of these leaders that are going to come in with a little bit of gravitas and playoff experience, and also experience of being in a locker room that probably didn't work, and hopefully would bring the factors of what would work. So I'm very excited to see that. But I didn't know it would click so well early on. I gotta say to Coach Katz, and this is what I really had been interested in. It was after the loss to St. Joe's. Zevi Samet, who I'm very close with his dad. I spent the summer with him. I ran into him as I worked at YU, and he was saying like, we just don't know the offense right now. Like we just got 4 freshmen. We got a lot of freshmen playing. Like we just don't know it. And I'm like, do you think that we're gonna and like kudos to Steinmetz for recognizing it. And then kudos, I wanted to ask the guru of the motion offense, what happened? I heard there was a boot. Walk us through this boot camp that's become, for those in the know, stuff of legends. What was the motion boot camp like? What was it like? What went on? Right now they're running like it looked beautiful.
Right. I did not know that it was public information, but it seems to have become that. So I hope Elliot will forgive me. It was Elliot and I have always talked about, when this class graduated last year, when you get new kids, we got to reteach everything. You can't assume that the guys who kind of didn't run it last year, because we didn't run our offense last year, we kind of haven't run it in a couple of years. And so when we could have, we just didn't, because there was a whole mess of stuff going on. But at least we didn't run it like we could have run it. And so who's going to teach them? The upperclassmen really can't, because the guys who actually knew it were gone. And then the other guys learned it from the guys who knew it, who didn't really run it like they could have run it for whatever reason. I'm not going to get into that. So what you don't want to do is kind of infest a new group with the bad habits of an old group. You understand what I mean by that? And so even the remnants of what we had left over, you almost want to teach everybody again, because that, the core group that learned it at first and passed it down is now gone. And so, because of the Chagim, we weren't going to be able to start on October 15th. So you apply to the NCAA for extra days to make up for the days that everybody else is going to play and you're not. So we kind of did that, or Elliot did that, and we got back September, I think 19 through 23. So he's like, I told him I was willing to do whatever he wanted to do. Like I'd willing to help whatever he wanted. And he said, you want to come up here and we'll just run like a motion clinic. I said, we could do some kind of boot camp. I'll do the week. I don't care, And so he ran a tryout on Monday of that week. It was right before Rosh Hashanah. So he ran a tryout on Monday. I came in by train on Tuesday. And then I did Tuesday night and Wednesday. I slept over at Elliot's, and Wednesday morning went to practice and did Wednesday, then came home, had to actually work and then run my own practice. And then on Wednesday night, and then Thursday afternoon, drove back and did Thursday night and Friday morning and came back for Shabbat. So we, in those 4 days, we went from 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on, like it was the first time that I'd done it, that I was able to get 5-on-5 on the floor on the first day. And when I got 5-on-5 on the floor on the first day, I'm kind of like, we're in a different spot here. I kind of knew we had a little something going on, and Dotan had to leave. I think Dotan left on Wednesday, so he missed after Wednesday's practice, so he missed Thursday and Friday. But at that point, we were already kind of solid in it, if you know what I mean.
It's shocking that he left early. He seems to be running it.
Oh, he's doing great. He ran it great.
He looks so good.
Yeah, he ran it great before he left. So what I'm saying is, when we got it to 5-on-5 on the floor that first day, I think there's a sense when you're a kid like Zevi, like there's a sense when you're a freshman that we're not even sure what we're doing, because they're so used to going, you go here, you go there, then we're going to come here and screen for you there, and then you're going to come here, and this is total 100% freedom within the structure of certain, and not limitations, but within the structure of certain expectations, right? So there's certain things we want to accomplish, And you can't necessarily get that without any form of structure, if you know what I mean. So there's a small structure to it, but the freedom to do what they want. So if you're a kid who's a freshman, right? And you're like, oh, I don't know, should I screen here? Should I cut here? You know, and the truth is that your defender is going to tell you what to do. And so once you understand that your defender is going to tell you what to do, the whole thing kind of gets easier. And then once everybody's on the same page, which is really what happens when those four guys in particular, including Daniel, get on the floor, and Max, obviously, but even with Matan and Oren and Gav, who's really
Lando's been great.
He's been great because he goes on and all he does is run stuff. He just runs our stuff. I'm just going to screen, get guys open. I'm going to defend, and then we'll figure it out. I'll get an open look, knock a couple down.
Excellent.
We give 100% each and every time.
Yeah, he's been great, and so I think we're kind of evolving into what we're supposed to be. I was surprised we got 5-on-5 on the floor on the first day. I kind of thought somewhere around Wednesday morning maybe we'd be able to do it, but once we were able to put on for the first day, it was a credit to the guys, including Igby and Roden and all the guys who were kind of really all in. And you know, one of the things I think kids don't understand is these are not your points. These are our points. These are not your assists. They're our assists. These are not your screens. They're our screens, right? So if a kid comes in and says, well, I need to get mines, you go.
Over. It's over.
Yeah. I mean, there's not, and that, I mean, we've had instances in the past 8 years where guys are kind of had that, I got to get my kind of philosophy. But what my first thing I told the guys when I got there was kind of like, fellas, this is going to be unlike anything you've ever done. And your expectations in this community are going to be huge because we don't have patience, right?
Yeah.
But if you just play for we instead of me, you're not going to believe what you're going to accomplish. Like these things hang up in this gym after 100 years because there were guys who played for each other and not with each other. And the one thing that everybody has to know that nobody knows, or at least they think they know, but the screener in our offense is always, 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 always open. And that's the first thing you teach. And when you do that, and you want to know why Zevi's open, why Simba Halpert was always open.
Oh, Simba was always open.
He was the absolute greatest screener in that spot. And I always tell kids, I told this to Ryan, I always tell kids, if you want to know how to play this offense, I mean, you could watch Donnie because he's just was like a savant in it. I know he's my kid, but it's a fact. But then you watch Sim. Sim knew that the way for him to get open is to screen. And if you watch Zevi play, he screens all the time. Let's give you an example. Okay, so let's go into a little deep X and O here for a second. You're going to switch my back screen, okay? So I'm Zevi. I'm going to come out, and you know I'm number one on your scouting report. It's like a Ryan Turell thing. I'm the number one guy on your scouting report. Okay? Of course. I'm coming to hit that back screen. If you don't switch on me and I open off that back screen, I'm going to be wide open. My teammate now off the back screen is going to be wide open. But I'm going to be wide open if I stick this back screen because, excuse me, the guy who's guarding the back screen guy is going to be open. And the guy guarding me is going to have to bump the back screens guy. You understand? The cutter. You have to bump that cutter, but he can't because I'm me. In other words, I'm Ryan Turell. So if you bump him, I'm wide open. So I'm a screen because I'm gonna be open. And if you switch, you get to tell me that I took defender A and switched with defender D. No, you can't guard me with a gun. You know what I mean? So we get that switch. We'll slip that like we did last night. Roy was terrific. He was a back screen and Roy slipped it for a layup.
A bunch of times. Margasov a few times.
Yeah, because they're running our stuff and they understand that the screener is always open. And if you want that, I think where guys get lost in this thing and where we had some guys, let's just say guys whose name may have come up in this podcast already, who just refused to screen, and thought that theirs didn't stink and all that. It's just, you see it and coaches see it. Like we watch film and we look at the film and go, nah, you kill our spacing. You kill everything we're trying to do because all you're thinking about is me. I'm not going to get my shot, so I'm not going to do it.
So I have a.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I have a question.
Not too much. Hey, look.
No, it's first off, this is exactly why we wanted to do this, Oren.
Yeah.
For like
Exactly.
high level basketball conversation. And there's so much out there that's like surface level. That's like that's for the fans, and even beyond for surface level, fans that actually know what they're trying. The ball button are amazing, and we have so much stuff out there that are like, I'm on the ball button, it's great. And this is but I wanted to also get a high level. I also wanted to get a perspective of someone like yourself with such a vast knowledge of basketball, with such a history, a high level intellectual basketball conversation. That's what we wanted to get on. I had a question I wanted to ask you about the motion. So the motion,
sure,
it's giving up so much control from a coach to the players, that's guaranteed. Where is there ever a scenario where if you give up that much control, and is there players where players then don't do well with that control? You know what I'm saying? Like they have all this control and they don't know how to handle it. They have all this power, and now we get a bad locker room, right? How do you prevent that? And like, it's definitely a risk. How do you prevent that?
Well, a couple things. First of all, a lot of it is in what I just told you is presentation. They're not our point. They're not your points. They're our points. Okay, we're playing for us. You're playing for each other and not with each other. First thing. But I'm a teacher. Okay, a coach is a coach, but I'm also a teacher. So I mean, it takes a while for somebody to wrap their head around that. A coach is actually a teacher. And if I have enough confidence in my ability to teach you information, and it's really all about the transfer of information. And if I could transfer the information to you, like I should do, then I don't need to call a play late in the game. You already know what we want. If we want the flexibility of it, if you want a staggered double screen, we can run that. If you want a triple, you want a two phase, you want a fake motion on one side and isolate the other. You can run all of it. You have, I don't know how astute they are or how much they paid attention, but like if you watch the team from 2019, when they had mismatches in the post, it became a thing. Like you get, Bar or whoever would have it on the top, and Donnie would be pointing to Gabriel, like, come on, we got this right here. And Sim would go back to Bar, and Bar would not recognize the switch, and so eventually, so what you do as a player is you sort of get a little frustrated and you got to keep playing. And then we'll get that again. And the point is you get it again. So I think most coaches don't like running this. Two reasons. One, they don't know it and are afraid of it. Two, nobody wants to give up control because then I'm not a coach. I want to be, hey, Texas special or whatever nonsense you're going to run.
Right.
So and guys want to do that. You know what I'm talking about? So they don't want to give up that control. They want to, hey, we're going 6 here. We're going 3, we're going, hey, thumbs down, like, come on. Guys don't want that. One, I think a lot of coaches are lazy, my own opinion. Look, I want to clear something up. The only reason I know things at all in basketball is because I've made all the mistakes you can make. I mean, name the mistake, I've done it. Okay. So my knowledge comes from being such a loser, that I made these mistakes and I remember them because I have like this ridiculous memory of basketball. I can tell you time and score of most every game I've ever been involved in. It's a sickness, but I made that mistake, and therefore I try not to repeat those mistakes, and I remember them and I talk them over so I remember them. In other words, I can tell you stories about things that happen and why I never do X. Like, you could ask me any question. Why won't you call a timeout when your team has a ball late in the game? I'll tell you exactly why. I remember the game. I remember what happened in the situation. It actually happened with the, do you guys remember the MK Dove Lippman? Remember him? He was a Knesset member.
Yeah, sure.
So Dovey played for me when he was a kid. And we're playing against Charles D. Smith Jewish Day School. And my team was Yeshiva High School, and we're supposed to play their JV. So I call a guy up for a game, and he's like, "No, you want our JV?" No, we got a varsity. I'm gonna play, because I'm not like that. We're varsity, you're varsity.
You don't back down.
Yeah, we're gonna kill you. All right, well, let's roll the dice. Okay. So we go to his place, and he's got 6'6", 6'5", 6 something in the front court. We're up a point with 8 seconds to go, and I have not played. Matter of fact, Ari Shop's dad was my best player.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he was my best player, and I love him. I talked to him 2 days ago. He's my best player. Yesterday, I talked to him yesterday, and he's my best player, and I'm not playing him because whatever happened, I'm not gonna play him. So I didn't play him the whole day, and it was a great lesson for him because we were up a point with 8 seconds to go in the game. We foul a kid. He goes to the free throw line, makes both, and I call timeout. And when I inbounded the ball to Rabbi Lippman, to Dovey, he got triple teamed by their 6'6s, and the game was over. I said, I am never doing that again. I am never doing that again. I'm never doing that again. So when we get it, you scored a bucket, and conversely, if I have that 1 point lead with 8 seconds to go, I am calling timeout. And I'm going to make sure you ain't catching us with our pants down. You know what I mean? So it's like that kind of, you should have called a timeout.
So even on a make, so I know it's common knowledge that down one, you get the miss, you never call the timeout. You don't give the defense a chance to set up. But even on the make, you don't call the timeout. I mean, I guess it's the same thing. You don't give the defense a chance to set up.
Well, look, what am I going to do? Look, when you run what we run, for instance, what do I need to tell you? We need to know. Everybody knows the role. So at that point, like I used to do this. This is something I still do to my team. Who's the best shooter in the gym? And at that point, everybody has to be on the same page. You can't have a guy go like, with the Jews, it's always one of me call them.
It's a machlokas.
Yeah, maybe. I said, dude, if you're the best shooter, put your hand up. Everybody needs to know who the best shooter is.
Right.
Who's the next best shooter in the gym? And I wanted everybody to know. So why? So late in the game, we knew where the ball was supposed to go. You get it?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I'm like, best shooter needs to take that shot late in the game. Everybody needs to know. Like, we're trying to get the best shooter of the ball. And by the way, I know I'm all over the map here, but you think if Zevi Samet was at a different school, even in our league, he would go for 38 or 40? He's gonna play the two. So he's gonna run whatever the two has to do.
He's the perfect motion player. Like Simcha was.
Like Simcha was
perfect.
Like, you think Simcha Halpert scoring 1,800 points at Farmingdale? No, he's running the two. And then they got the 5 for the screen and roll. And they got you run your 2. If you go to Merchant Marine, you're running your 2, right?
They're running crap Reggie Miller plays where he's coming off double screens. They're doing the one where you pass the corner, he cuts in, they set the down screen. But I
got to call that play for you.
Right. No, I got to call that for else. Simcha specifically.
I got to call that play for you. Maybe he gets 1,000 points, but he doesn't get 1,800. You know what I mean?
Simcha was the perfect motion player, and then I feel like Simcha was the iPhone 1, and Zevi's the iPhone 2. It's so fun to watch the evolution.
You're right, and the great thing for Ryan was Ryan got to play with those guys who wanted to, came to do it. He wanted to play with those two because we had gone to the NCAA tournament. And now it was going to be like, and he, Ryan's out. It took me a year to figure this out. And I think that's sort of what happens when it's, kind of players teaching players, you got to kind of bring them along, when it's, but like in a boot camp scenario like we had, it was coaches teaching coaches. It was a chance for all the coaches. I was like, all the coaches have to be there because let's learn how to teach this as a group. so that when we have to get back and do it, we're going to do it this way. You know what I mean? Like that.
I'm not sure if Ryan was the perfect motion player.
No, I don't
as
think
much
he was
as
the perfect motion.
Chevy and Samet is.
No, I agree with that. 'Cause Ryan was Ryan's a
that.
metric. Ryan's a metric. He's a 6'6" metric. In other words,
Yeah.
like a freak. So you could take that freak and do. Now the
You
fact
think that hurt the team and hurt I have this guy who could do so much. Like you start getting guys second guessing.
I don't think it. No, I don't think it. I don't think it hurt the 19 team because they were so secure.
No, that team was still fun.
May have heard everybody afterwards because, like, it's with 19, as I had told Elliot one day, he's like the Swiss Army knife. We could put him in a post. We play him on a perimeter. We didn't need him in a post because we had 2 great passers in the post. And then if we wanted to, here's your 3rd great passer in the post. But he can play on a perimeter and match up with. If he's a 6'6" nightmare, and we knew that everybody we were going to play after the Sweet 16 was still going to have a problem with that nightmare. But that was the advantage of having Simcha Halpert, this great motion player, and then with 2. I mean, there are some brilliant basketball players, you understand, who had brilliant understandings of what we were trying to do. So that's what I mean. I think I got a little bit off topic with that point. Like that's what I mean by made mistakes. So I make mistakes and I kind of remember the mistake and can point to the mistake. That was my point of. I know I'm all over the map, but that's
just talking man. We're just having fun.
That's sort of how I remember in a playoff game, we're playing against this team we should never be losing to, and we're losing to them.
It may have been Mount St. Mary's.
No. I'm not saying in a way. I was saying in my own personal experience, and then in a tie game, they scored a bucket to tie the game at 50-50. Everybody expected me to call a timeout with like 10 seconds. I'm like, screw that. I got no play for you, fellas. I'm not that good a coach. Just run the stuff you've been taught. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of my approach. My approach is like, what am I going to do? Send you a double? We could set a double in this offense. What do you want me to do? Set you a down screen? You know how to do that. Just run the stuff and be patient. Let's make sure the guys who need the ball get the ball. And that's what I mean when I say, who's the best shooter in the gym? And it's tough to do, like, again, with the Jewish kids, because nobody wants to say they're the best shooter because it's better to be an enough, right? Better to be a modest guy. So I don't have time. I would say, hey, I got no time for modesty, dude.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I
didn't answer the question I was asked, but go ahead.
I think you did. I think there's a lot of answers.
Okay.
I wanted to ask, like, I think in years past.
Wait, I'm stopping you because now I remember what your point is. How do you control it? You control it by having great leadership. Okay, that's the answer. The answer is, I'll give you a perfect example of great leadership. Donnie's senior year, Sim's going to night school, but they run pickup, right? That's what they do in September, right? Without coaches, you run pickup.
Right.
Donnie calls everybody, right? And Donnie calls everybody together, and he goes, "Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to play, and we'll put you guys who are trying to make the team, whatever, in the freshman. We're going to move you in here when we're tired or whatever, something like that." I won't say the name. Somebody balks at that idea. Like, well, that ain't fair. And here's what your leader does. He goes, "Listen here, you see that banner up there? It took 100 years to get it, and we got it. Until you get it, this is what we're going to do in this gym. We hung that. We know what it takes to get here. You have no idea because you're coming from high school, right? We know what we're doing. If you don't like it, there are 8 doors in this gym that you can leave through. But this is how we're going to do it right here. You don't like that? When it's your team, you do whatever you want. Right now, it's not your team, it's our team." And that's what a leader does. Like, people would talk in the locker room and Sim would go like, what? Who told you could say something? It's not your locker room. It's my locker room. That is how you finish that.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. I really couldn't agree with you more. I think there was a lot of that missing in a couple of years past. So I guess it reverts to my question. I'm an eighth. I am as an experienced coach as yourself. when you're missing that. You know, not every year you could get a Donnie and a Simcha and all those guys all in the same year. An Ellie Mammon, a Mike Berg. Sometimes you only get Shelby Rosenbergs, guys who lead by example and are very quiet, but lead by example, right? They're there early, the hardest worker, the best player, but are quiet, not necessarily the kind to grab you by the shirt and say, listen, MFer, snap into this. When you delegate so much power to the players and you're missing that MFer of a leader as a coach, Coach Katz, what do you do? How do you adjust? Like, do you need that MFer in the locker room? The guy will grab another player and shake him or hold it down. Donnie, it wasn't necessarily a guy who will shake, but was definitely a guy who wasn't afraid to let you know this is where you stand. Simcha actually might have been a shaker, actually. Might have been a guy that'll shake.
They kind of
you're
work.
missing that guy. If you have an offense and a system that's so delegation to the players, but if you're missing the player that'll hold it down as the not even bad cop, but as the letter of the law, the Clint Eastwood, what do you do? How do you?
I'll tell you how I've done it in the past, but you can assume, like, every time Elliot needed something done, he went to Donnie, and anytime the locker room needed to get whipped into shape, it was Simcha. So one was the managing partner and the other one was the part, you understand? So Sim would like if he needed Donnie to sit, he needed Donnie to, like, there was a problem amongst players for a little bit. And he said to Donnie, it's your locker room, handle it. And Donnie's like, all right, I'll take care of it tonight. And it was over the next day. And so that's one way to do it, because you had kids like that. And by the way, those kids turned the program around because it was like, hey, we don't play. You know what I mean? The way you do it, Jack, is simple. It's not simple. It's difficult. But I will turn to the guy I'm handing the ball to and say, dude, this is your team. Take it. It's your team. Our success and failure is going to be on your shoulder. Because this is the team. I'm giving you the basketball to control with this group. It's your opportunity now. Life is going to be exactly like this. And you're either going to have to adapt to it, or you're going to be hunted, or you're going to be the hunter. Like, which one you want to be? We want the hunter. You know what I mean? So it's difficult because not every kid can do it. But on every roster, there's probably 2 or 3 kids that are legitimate grinders. You know what I mean? Where you can find them and say to them, look, like I had a team once where my best leaders didn't play. But they led by example in the room and just kind of said, hey, we're not going to tolerate this here. And my response to them was, like I would always say to them something I've heard Gino or Emma say, and I've said it a long time, for years, long before I knew who Gino was. Like, every rebound, every cut, every screen, if you guys want to be as good as I think you want to be, and this team wants to be as great as this team, everybody has to contribute, from the first guy to the last guy, which means, we're running X in practice. You've got to help Y get better when we run X. Understand? If you're not defending, you shouldn't even be here. What's the point, right? Like, that's your job on the round. So it's not like, I hate when people go, well, the bench guys. What do you mean the bench guys? They're basketball players on your team. Like, I never say that. I never say
no small actors, only no small parts, only small actors. That kind of theory. Yeah.
I never said. I never go, well, the bench held it up. Well, what are you talking about? Like, we're all part of the same unit. So it's difficult, Jack. But the guys who end up screening and cutting and running your stuff are your leadership. And those are the guys you appeal to. If nobody's doing it, now you have a real problem. But that manifests itself not only in the locker room, on the basketball floor, on the street. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't have relationships some of them are very toxic because of that. So if you don't have an all-in buy-in, you're never going to find that. And here's what I used to do. Like, when I was at Katz, I used to find the greatest time for me as a coach was pre-practice stretching. Because like I just walk up to a player I know is not playing very well, and we need him to play better. And I just say, dude, I saw this kid last night over at Hartford High. He's so much better than you. We're recruiting right over you. Like there's no reason that he should go to Catholic. He needs to come here because we don't have a guy at your spot who can play. Well, come on, coach. Come on, what? Like example, this is a true story. Now we started. We
I'm sure that method would work on me. I think there's some players who might not like that.
What'd you say, Jack? What'd you say, Jack? Jack, what'd you say?
I said I'm not. That is a bold statement to say to a player, man.
Yeah,
I'm not
man.
sure that approach would work on an old Jack Turell. A young Jack might throw fisticuffs if he heard something like that.
Yeah, but I'll be like, yeah, that's cool, Jack. That's cool, Jack. You can throw hands.
Boy.
You can throw
That
hands. You can throw hands. That'll be the last time you're here. And we are going to get that kid from Hartford.
That's so funny. So you used to say things like that.
100%.
Well.
And I would say it to guys. I would say it to guys who were playing well. And I'd say I do it because it's fun for me. Like I'm just going to jerk you around a little bit. But with guys, but if you do it when it's fun and they know they're playing well, you can say it to them when they're not playing well. And they know you're serious.
Right.
And I may just be busting their nads, you know what I mean? But I'm telling, hey, dude, we're recruiting over you. You lost 3 games in a row. You don't rebound. I mean, it's a true story. Coach has non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, so I'm basically the coach. But he has to go to Texas for Christmas. I'm the only one there for the last day. He has to go to the doctor, right? So I'm the only guy there the last day. I'm running practice, okay?
Which team is this with?
When I was at Goucher College, okay? And so, like, it was Susquehanna. It was also Hanukkah. We played Susquehanna, and I didn't want to go. Like, I wanted to be home for the first night of Hanukkah with my kids. It was like they were senior. I just wanted to be there.
Yeah, of course.
So
yeah, sure.
So I don't go that day. Okay. So coach is like, I'm going to do it. Okay. I read the box score. We have one kid who's played 27 minutes and he has 1 offensive rebound. That's his entire line. And I get in front of the team. I say, hey, John, last night I took a crap for 30 minutes and I had 1 less rebound than you. That's what I'm looking at. Is there any reason? Is there any reason? Is there any reason? Is there any reason that we need to have you play for us next year? You played 27 minutes. You had 1 rebound. You foul somebody. It's like zeros across the board. It's a 27 at the end for minutes, and it's 1 at rebounds, offensive, and nothing. 0 everywhere. No assists. No turnover. What were you doing? What are you doing? You're going to get peanuts? Like, what are you doing? So we're just recruiting. So I say, hey, John, we're recruiting over you. There's no, why should we play you? Foul somebody. Turn the ball over once. Show me that you
do something. Yeah. Where's your head at? Where's your
exactly. And that's what you're trying to get out of those guys when you walk up to them and say, hey, you rebound like a sieve, dude. There's no reason to have you. I saw this kid last night in Pikesville, and he's so much better than you. And he's ready to come here. And I told him, well, we have a sophomore, but he's not playing very well, and he doesn't really care that much. So and dude will be like, nah, coach, why you say that? I say, because you don't care. How you say I don't care? Because you had 2 rebounds last night in 40 minutes. You're 6'7". Get a rebound. Yeah. Make a shot. Show
challenge your players. Test their toughness.
That is how I did it.
That translates. That makes a lot.
That's how I did it. So if that player's big mouth Jack and he wants to go down with me, I'm cool. Yeah, that's fine. Leave both uniforms on my desk. I'll see you tomorrow morning.
It's a good point.
That's what's up. And it's almost like you don't have to play here. But if you play here, this is what you're going to have to do. This is a strictly voluntary activity. You don't have to be here. If you're going to be here, this is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to be on time for class. You're going to have to show up. You're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to produce. And why am I doing that? Because in 10 years from now, you're going to look back at it and say, that was the kind of kick in the pants I needed to get my stuff.
You're making young men. You're making leaders.
That is a better person.
Telling them what they need to hear.
That's
a really good point.
That is the job. And if anybody to me, it's always been about helping people raise their children as much as in an area where they want. In other words, you can say that about the Gemara teacher, but they may not want to learn Gemara. But if they're in the gym, they want ball.
They want ball.
If they want ball. I have the strength to not only, to not only hook that up, but I have strength to take that away from you too. So,
but also teach.
Yeah. So my job,
life. Yeah, everything's a teaching moment. It's the way of being a good coach. Yeah, I totally hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I had a player. Oh, go ahead. I'll save that one. But I'm saying, like, that's how you do it, Jack. Like, if you're going to do it, and if you can't do it, you get toxicity, and that's what's up.
Yeah, that's that is.
Look, I don't want to list any examples, but I'm sure there are countless numbers of players who were good enough to play YU basketball, but Elliot said no, they're not going to bring positive energy.
I'm going to give you the perfect example, and it addresses Jack's point at the same time. Elliot calls me, young. He just started. We didn't just start. I mean, Donnie was coming. I think Donnie might have already been there freshman year. Calls me up, says, "Hey, it's a Memphis tournament." I said, "Hey, watch this kid." And I watched the kid. Oh, I think I shared this with you, right, Jack? I watched the kid for 5 minutes.
Yeah, you might have.
5 minutes, and I'm like, "Why do you want to bring this in your life?" Screaming at coaches, screaming at players.
A kid who's excellent.
Yeah,
a kid who's excellent. Like in terms of
stats, he could play.
Yeah, he can definitely play.
Yeah, and I'm like, why do you want this in your locker room? Like, you're going to win the battle, you're going to lose the war. You understand? So, like, there's, and then it didn't get better in 11th grade, and didn't get better in 12th grade. So whatever happens after that happens after that. But we didn't recruit him, much to his chagrin and all his supporters' chagrin, because it didn't make sense to take this toxicity and put it in what was becoming a great locker room. Because for all intents and purposes, the Sim Donnie thing, when Mike cleared out, even though Ellie was hurt half the year, but they really were, it was becoming their basketball team.
Well, you had a good also like leader. You had two young guys that were going to be excellent leaders, and two old guys that were excellent, and Ellie Mammon and Mike Burke, two guys that were.
Mike was already gone when Jordan left. So, but sophomore year, Mike was gone. Right. They played with him as freshmen, but Mike was a great example for Donnie and Sim to learn from.
Yeah,
Mike was phenomenal, just phenomenal leader. And so, whatever Mike wasn't able to do, the things that he was able to do, he kind of did. And by the time they were seniors, Mike's just like, okay, they're just way past where we were. Like, they're just at a different.
Oh yeah.
And Mike readily admits that. But what Mike doesn't understand is the kind of hand he had in it, because he showed them, hey, this is how you do it, And then, so I think some guys believe they assume the mantle when they don't even deserve the mantle. Do you understand what I mean? So you get guys kind of call themselves your leader, and they're anything but, and it's toxicity everywhere. And that. I know as a basketball coach, I could turn on a game, and in 5 minutes, I could tell you if it's a toxic environment.
I have. It leads me to the next question.
Sure.
I guess.
Sure it does, Jack.
Couple of things.
Yeah.
It's the difference between, I think, the first thing I wanted to ask, well, I'll just piggyback off that. I would say that last year's team was kind of the real housewives of the MSAC. If there was a way, maybe this question's a little too much, and if it is, just say like no comment, and I'll pivot. But if there's a way to do that over again, if there's a way to reapproach it, if there's a way to because you in the moment, obviously you don't think that you're on this 36 game win streak leading into the season. You're coming off that awesome Sweet 16, a weird COVID year where things look really good. Like, it's just weird leading in.
I don't think it's totally on the Jack, I don't think it's totally on the players though, because you had the multiple headlines and that fed in.
Everything was a mess. Oh, of course. Media storm. It's something interesting. The difference on the 19 team and the 21 team was everyone on the 19 team was like not talking to the press, not doing anything with the thing, and the 21 team was like New York Times, come into this locker room, and I just.
The 19 team had an embedded reporter from the Associated Press, and they almost like they wouldn't let him on the bus.
No, they didn't talk to him.
Yeah, they gave him his interviews when he asked for him, but he wasn't allowed on about like Donnie was like, no, this is our space. Sim was like, we're not like we don't mind having you around, but you can't come into our space. We have to invite you into our space. That's why when we go to Baltimore and get kicked out of that hotel, the reporter's driving up instead of taking the bus.
Interesting.
Because
wild.
Yeah, because he's not on the bus. Donnie's like, we like the guy, but this is we got to be able to be ourselves up here. Like we're just kids, and we got to be able to just kind of cut loose without anybody, kind of reporting on it, that kind of thing. So go ahead, Jack. I just wanted to make that point.
No, I mean, I think it answers a question at a surface level. It's a deep question. It's a hard hitting one. But if there was like,
I mean, first of all, let's be clear. Of those 34 games in a row or whatever it was, 29 of them were done by that 19 team. So the heavy lifting of the.
No, of course.
Yeah.
I think there wasn't a realization that this roster that is completely different, because Ryan and Gabe and Eitan and Ofek were so big, a reason for those 34 or whatever wins. You think, oh, we have 4 guys from the 19 team, and this is the same team. When in reality, it was a complete
and here's why.
New team.
Think about that 19 team for a minute. Simcha Alpert gave up hundreds of points so Ryan and Gabe could fit in. Donnie was the 3rd leading scorer when Gabe shows up, going for double digits tonight, and then just said, nah, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, I want to win.
He drops to 4th, and then he drops to 5th and 6th, and
It does not care for 1 minute. Doesn't care. Not only that, but he was rebounding. He was 2nd in the league in assists.
Yeah.
Right. And then he's like, nah, man, we're gonna win with this guy. We're gonna win. So he turns to Gabe. 2 great stories. This is great inside stuff that nobody knows. Donnie doesn't have a roommate, and Elliot puts Gabriel with Donnie. Okay. And he says to Donnie, he just has to know how we do things here. Gabe comes in January. First game out, we're playing Old Westbury, and we lose. Okay. But in the game, Donnie grabs the rebound and he throws it down to Sim for a layup. And Gabriel says to Donnie, we're allowed to do that here? Because I guess he's coming from the receiver league where they don't do that, I guess.
Give it to the point guard.
Right.
Oh, just take it. He goes, I do this every night. And Gabriel's like, oh, this is going to be so great. Gabe's like, really? Oh, this is going to be great. So Donnie says to Gabe, hey, I'm going to box the guy, the best guy. You just grab the rebound. I don't care. I'm going to box. The best rebounder will not have his best day. I'm going to box him. I'm going to guard him, and I'm going to box
him.
No
one boxed out better than Donnie. Nobody boxed out better than Donnie. No.
To this day. But all he was like, just like I'm going to do that, and you get it. Donnie felt that whatever Ryan, Gabe, Sim, whatever they got was his too. You know what I mean? Like, that's how you should look at it. And I'm not sure every team's like that. It's like, these are my point. And that's the one great thing about this group here.
I do have a question. You have so you have this team that's perfect. You have these perfect guys, and Ryan comes in and he's young, and Ryan is not necessarily confrontational. He's not the grab your shirt guy. He's more like the Shelby Rosenberg. He's the lead by example, shows up at the gym early. He's very quiet in comparison to the rest of the crazy Turell family. When you have a situation where how do you approach that? How do you push it when you have all these personalities?
But this is what I was going to tell you. This is what I was going to tell you. When you look at 19, you had the IQ dragging the talent, right? They were leading the talent. Then the IQ leaves, and it's just the talent. Some with IQ, but it's all talent. There's no beta. My entire concern.
No beta on that.
My entire concern in the offseason, especially after a COVID year, was we need a beta, and it cannot be Gabriel, because Gabriel has to be the alpha. Like, he has to be an alpha. Like, Ryan's going to be the alpha. So it has to be like, we need a beta, and we never found a beta. And that's what's up.
It's
And
important.
I think that you can win 50 in a row, but if you don't have a beta, a guy who just goes in, and I'll give you a perfect example of Donnie being the beta. Like, I think I told you the other day, was it you? We're playing that playoff game, Farmingdale, and everybody's got, Ryan's got 2, Sim's got 2, Gabe's got 2, Caleb has 3, right? Somebody else had 2. So at the end of the half, you're with Donnie, Eitan, Kevin, Tyler, and after Caleb fouled out, picked his third foul, it was somebody else came in. And that's what you're playing with. And you expand your lead, because Donnie's just like, he banged 2 threes, hit Eitan on a layup, got fouled on it, like in the last 2 minutes. In other words, he's like, I'm the beta, but I could be the alpha if you want me to be the alpha. And at that moment, he had to be the alpha. So he turns into the alpha. It's the same thing like when we went to Farmingdale in the playoffs. Like,
Wait,
I'll be the alpha. You know what I mean?
Did you assign it though? Like, let's say you're coaching.
No, well, I mean, you do say to players,
You
hey,
say you're a beta? Like, if you have a team, you have 5 alphas. You're a beta.
you don't have to say. No, you don't have to say it.
So how do you get guys to fall in
Because
line?
your betas become betas. Like, you find out when they're in the locker room alone, or when you're in your huddle, and what the guy says. If the guy says, I'm not going to say. I was going to say about my team right now, but
No, we don't want names in the pod.
Oh, no.
We'll get to McCor Chaim at the end of the show, by the way.
So, I mean, but it's a perfect example of what your kid's going to respond. If your kid's going to respond, hey, I did that because I don't want to get yelled at. You'd be like, what? Or he says, I did that because it's my job to do it. Like, I rotated there because that was my job. That's what I want to hear as a coach. The problem is that you don't really get that. You get guys going like, yeah, I mean, I was pretty good in high school. What? Well, I mean, you're not in high school, son. This is college. And in college, we got to do things totally different. Everybody here was the best player on their team. Everybody you play is going to be the best player on their team in high school. Some guys are better than others. Cue Ryan Turell, cue Zevi Sim, right? Some guys just better than others.
Some guys.
You have to find out who you are, what's your job. You have a choice. You could play or you could watch. If you want to play, you can lecture me all day about how great a scorer you are. But if that's not what we need from you, you're not going to play.
You're not going to play.
That's what's up. And
so this team plays like that. This has been my favorite team to watch since the tournament run. There's a clear hierarchy. These guys believe in the offense. They run the stuff. But not only that, they have an understanding. Zevi's going to shoot 30 shots. That's our best chance at winning. But within that realm, it's not going to be ISO. It's going to be 30 shots within the offense. And if he's getting 30 good shots within the offense, I'm going to get my 10 points. 10 points in a Division III game, my friend, is a very good game. Not everyone has the capabilities to score 30 points. It's only in a handful since I've been associated with YU, which has been, it seems like 28 years. It's really only probably about 7 or 8. But like, who could score that much? It's a handful, right? We look at last game where Zevi has 40, if Roy with 10, Zucker with 10, Goose with 10, Oren with 9, Gob with 8. It's amazing. It's such a beautiful thing to watch.
It's what I said before about being a product of what we run. In other words, Zevi's, all these guys, it's about process. Like, even I may have mentioned this to you. I don't know. Like the offense is working even when we miss that shot. In other words,
Right.
we're getting the looks we need to get. Sometimes you just put your hands up and go, just wasn't our night. But we executed. I'm interested in the process, whether we make that shot or not. Maybe the wrong guy shooting it, but the process is generating looks. And everybody in the country kind of looks around. I was listening to Glenn Miller today, and he said they just run an offense that's so unique. And I had to make adjustments for my Jewish players because we couldn't do what some of these other kids could do within the structure of this, in the parameters of this offense. So I made certain things and traded certain trade-offs that guys I learned from didn't necessarily agree with my trade-offs all the time, but they understood why I was doing it, even though they called me names for doing it. But I had to do it because that's what's going to make our kid better. I have to deal with our kid, our Jewish kid. That's what I'm dealing with. So you have to make certain adjustments to what a lot of guys are afraid to touch the textbook. You understand? I look at the textbook and go, yeah, we could do that if we're 6'9" everywhere, or we could run that set if, out of that approach, we could do that if we're quick. We don't necessarily have all that. So what's the best thing for us? So I just kind of tinkered with it in such a way through mistakes. I mean, I knew I found out what works, what didn't work. And so, again, all mistakes that I've made. So, and then at some point you kind of massage it together and then go, boy, if we could do that, we can do it. We could win on a college level with this, even with our limited bounce, even with our limited talent, even with, our limited depth, right? Our limited recruiting base. We could do it. We just have to skin the cat in a different way. Oren, you remember this. We go to Farmingdale in the playoffs and we get smoked. No, sorry, Old Westbury. And we
in 16.
Yeah, you did the game.
I was on that team, yeah. I got in on
Jamel Stanley, right, Coach?
Jamel Stanley. So I'm gonna share I'm gonna share a story with you that I probably should.
No, it's good.
Probably shouldn't do it because I don't know if Elliot's going to want me to do it, but I'm going to
push some boundaries here. That's what we got.
So
just use player A and player B as an example.
No,
it's not a player thing. It's a coach thing between me and Elliot. And I kind of say, like, what happened last night? And he says, too fast, too strong, too quick, I just wrote back an 8-letter word that started with a B and ended with a T. And I'm like, he says, what are you talking about? I said, dude, if you run what they run, they're just bigger, stronger, faster, more athletic than you. We're never going to beat that. But if we run something different and make them have to figure out what we're doing,
right?
Because we see what they do every night. Same old ball screen, stay in the corner, shoot nonsense. And then have a kid like Stanley break it down, right? So we know what they're going to run. We can't do that. We don't have the skill set. And we're running, tell me if I'm right here, Jack, Texas.
No, I remember all the places. Yeah, the pick and roll,
right?
Texas. We had Jordan and Isaac Merwitz as our point guards who would get trapped.
We can't.
Yeah.
It's just don't make any kind of, and we have this conversation, a really long conversation where I made him a promise. He said, every level I've ever been at, I've won. This is a credit to Elliot because I wish he was on this podcast with me. It's a credit to Elliot because he's done a good job this year. He's in the playoffs. He just gets smoked by Old Westbury. So,
well, no, he took a team to the playoffs that for the previous 10 years were a 10-win team.
Yeah. Like, so he did a great job.
The same guys that won 10 games.
He did a great job, but I think
second round of the playoffs.
I think he's staring at his locker room, seeing Jack Turell. He's staring at his locker room, seeing Jack Turell, and going, "Okay, we're limited in what we're going to be able to accomplish."
There you go.
Now, what I'm saying is,
not all of us could be Ryan Turell. Some of us could be Jack.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's looking at it and going, we like I've been I've won every level. I want to win at this level. And I said, listen, if we're going to do this together. I'm going to go through this with you. I'm going to walk with you. I'm going to teach you this thing. And I promise you, not only are we going to win that league, we're going to compete for a national championship. Just let this next freshman class coming in, Donnie's class, just let them run it. I'm going to teach it to you. Just let them run. So I don't know if he totally bought it until I sent him a box score from the 92 NIT, and it's Indiana and Florida State, and Indiana and Seton Hall. They played. It's the finals of the NIT tour, semifinal of the NIT tour. Those two teams are 1-3 or 1-2, and Indiana's like second. And Calvert Cheney goes for 35. He goes for 36 in one game and 34 in the next game. He plays 81 minutes out of a possible 85 because the Florida State game or Seton Hall went to overtime. Jack, Oren, answer this question. In those 81 minutes, how long does Calvert Cheney have the ball in his hand in those two games? Mind you, he scored 35 points a game in the tournament.
Not a lot, I'm assuming.
Not a lot's not a good number. I need a number, Jack.
81 minutes.
How are you all of a sudden non-committal, huh?
There's not 81 minutes in it out of the 81 to 30? 30 of them? 15?
What do you think, Oren? What do you think, Oren?
It's one of those trick questions, right?
Not a trick question at all. Not a trick question. Guy averaged 35 points a game. I'm just trying to give you my thought process. That's all. Did you freeze, Oren?
You might.
Or did you freeze on me?
What was the answer?
Yeah.
The answer is 3
I gotta
minutes.
guess.
3 minutes and like 40 seconds.
Wow.
Okay, I was around like 1 minute.
First set. Well, yeah, you're just being.
He's taking enough Kamara classes to know that this is a setup.
Yeah.
I unfortunately.
Well, here's the point. That means, and this is how you teach basketball, and this is how you teach this form of basketball. For 78 minutes, he was doing something without the ball, half of which he's on defense, and then the rest of it he's screening and rebounding, cutting, and so I tell Elliot he tells me that's when he bought into what I was trying to tell him. And
I remember when he introduced it. I was on the team still. It was before, my heart, whatever, all that stuff. But
right, you were there freshman year, right?
Yeah, I remember when he introduced it, I said, this makes so much sense with the roster that we have. Like, we're losing all these bulky guys, but we're getting all these shooters, we're getting all these passers. I'm like, wow. That's when I was like, man, they know what they're doing at this program. I call Ryan. I'm like, this is a real deal. Like they know what they're doing here. Like it was such a smart adjustment for the guys that were leaving and then the players that were coming in. We were getting Johnny, we were getting Simcha, we were getting Jamie was getting more minutes, Judah Cohen. Like you had all these guys who could pass and shoot. Mike Berg was coming back, who was an excellent passer. It was just such a lot of good role players. I just remember being there going like, we've been running these things that worked when you had you had Shai Weiss and Dean and, guys like that, Shelby, but then he flipped the script getting with the new, I remember being there for the early days and going, oh, this makes a lot more sense.
And so what happens is it's a ballsy move from Elliot. And to me, that's why he's a great coach, because he kind of looks at it and goes, okay, I need to fix this or I'm just going to be stuck in this second, third, fourth, fifth place every year.
Yeah, let's go away from the offense. We talked a lot about it. Okay. I think Oren's idea here.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Debbie Samet, Ryan Turell.
Well, actually, I was going to actually piggyback on your question. We talked about, what was the quote you had? The Housewives of the MSAC? That was your description of last year?
Yeah, Real Housewives of the MSAC. That's what I call it last.
Right. So I guess, Coach, transitioning to this new squad, You spent some time with them. What's your vibe so far? Do you think they'll be able to tune out the noise? Should they go on a little run of their own?
They're going to go on a run of their own. I'm just not sure when it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be this year or next year. It's going to be.
It's going to happen.
Well, a lot of things. There are a lot of factors in here. One is everybody has to stay grounded. Everybody has to remember we're playing for each other. Not with each other. A lot of guys.
Letters, not numbers.
Yeah, it's got to be a for each other attitude. And it's when you watch them, how excited they get when anybody gets a bucket.
Right.
Especially these young guys. That's just.
I think that's the real key. It's the reaction, right?
That's the ticket. I remember watching Donnie set a back screen for Ryan and Sim lobbed it to him for a dunk. And the most excited guy in the gym was Donnie on the back screen. Like, just like he's kind of like Ryan's behind it. I think it was the Marines or something. And Donnie hits the back screen and Sim lobs it up to Ryan and he dunks it. And while the gym's exploding, Donnie is like, that's when you've tapped into something. And when you watch these guys play, Daniel Marksaw will hit a jump shot and everybody's like, yes, these are our points. So they get carried away. So then the question is about the noise. The way I think you handle it is, I used to have a sign in my locker room that said,
they become the Beatles. This YU team in the Jewish community, they become big. How do you it's a really good question, like Oren. How do you?
This is how you do it. I mean, let's be clear. We're 2-2. You understand? You're not 29-1. You're 2-2. You understand? And you could get smacked in the mouth on Saturday night. But I had this thing I got from remember Tony Rice? He was a quarterback at Notre Dame a long time ago, and he played for Lou Holtz.
Yeah.
And he told me that Lou Holtz, sorry to drop the name, but he told me that Lou Holtz used to have this thing in his locker room and just said, now what? We're undefeated, now what? We just beat Alabama, now what? We just lost to Penn State, now what? Like, now what? Like, what you did yesterday is over. It's just like it's kind of like the next shot theory. When you shoot the ball, you miss 10 in a row. Well, now what? Like, next shot, it's all about the net. Like that, you know why? Because that's what your life is. Life is like that. It's now what? You go stand on ceremony because you scored 12 points in the high school championship game when you were in 9th grade. Like, now what? Like, what do we do? So that's the first way you do it. Second way you do it is, the graveyards are full of indispensable men. Right? Think about it. Every indispensable men are buried all over the world. And yet, a lot was accomplished before you were born. Understand? Like, that's kind of the message you have to tell your players. Like,
right.
Look around the gym. The names on those banners, the years on those banners, when you were still, asking your mom for a lollipop, when you were you're coming home from 8th grade bar mitzvah lessons or whatever it was. These guys were doing all the heavy lifting that you got to watch, and you watched them. And like to me, I always tell Turell Goodman that he doesn't understand what he did, because the kids who played on that 2019 team heard about him their whole life. Ever since they started to play basketball.
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's so cool, And what I told Donnie was, and I told Sam and all the guys, you have no, and it's a fact with Ryan, and now it's going to be a fact with Zevi. You have no idea the effect that you have on the kids now. Zevi grew up watching the 2019 team. These guys
absolutely
grew up watching that group. To be like, dude, in case you think you're all that, remember why you're here, because you saw them play, because they're the ones that broke the mold. And now you can take what they did and improve on it. But the only way you can do that is by understanding that that's how it got here. You're standing on third base, think you hit a triple. No, they grinded it out. And they got it.
They did it, not you.
And
They did it.
I think that may be the wives of MS or the masters or whatever.
The Real Housewives.
Yeah, it's about understanding where you came from and like the one thing that those guys, Gabe, and really I'm just gonna go to Gabe, Sim, and even before Ryan, Gabe, Sim, and Donnie, because they went the first time. Like people forget we went before Ryan showed up. We went before Ryan showed up. So like, and then Ryan just enhanced the whole thing and we became sort of the best team in the country. So it's almost like, and I'm gonna tell you something. I don't think we go 29-1 if we don't lose to Farmingdale in the championship game.
No way. No way. Because I couldn't agree with you more.
We become the MSAC.
That loss was so important to that team and was so vital. And it was something that I think some of the freshmen who came in, including one of my favorite people and my little brother, and who was at my wedding, he was a groomsman at my wedding, Ofek, had missed, was the taste of defeat that team had. That team tasted defeat as a favorite. No, they didn't have home court.
No, but we were better than them.
They were better. We were better.
Because we won 17 in a row and we kind of pissed the game away.
Right. We had some bullshit.
Turned it over.
Bushwhack and
did a bad job late in the game. And then the purchase game
loss was so important to that team of understanding that it could like that be gone at the highest rate you had. They had 17 in a row. They blew a game.
All about character.
Guys who came in afterward missed on the fruitfulness of the loss. You learn more in your failures than in your successes.
Question about
it. And yeah, 50 successes in a row, you're not getting a lot of failures. You're not getting a lot of lessons. You know, I think
but that's what I mean when I say that 29-win team did all the heavy lifting, because they had to go through that entire offseason knowing that they should have gone. They had to watch Farmingdale get embarrassed the first round of the NCAA tournament because they knew they could have won that. Like they knew that. And they had to watch. They had to go a whole offseason. Matter of fact, Donnie didn't even follow the NCAA tournament. He was so pissed about it.
I just know that the guys coming in the next season, there was like a maturity to them, to their approach going, we won 17 in a row is nothing to joke about. If this team wins 17 in a row, I will donate $200 to Hatsala. I just put it on this podcast. That's a lot of games to win in a row.
That's a lot of games.
That's a lot of games. A good team this year. We might win the Skyline. This is a good team. 17 in a row is a lot. And then to lose that was a very good lesson that team.
Coach, Coach, do you think this is a stupid question to me to ask? You know, obviously, Elliott's doing the best he can to challenge himself against non-conference top-tier competition. But at the same time, I think this Farmingdale game Saturday night is bigger than the St. Joe's Illinois Wesleyan games, because these are going to be the two top teams. They're going to lock horns for the title. And on top of all that, this is a Farmingdale team that's returning all their players that beat the Ryan, Gabe, Eitan Halpert team of last year.
Well, first, unlike the two of you, and it may happen, it may not, I'm not necessarily crowning anybody a champion just yet.
I am.
I get it. I get it.
Definitely two top teams in Skyline, though.
I would say two of the top tier. I wouldn't necessarily say.
You got to put it on,
I'm not sure that because I know what's ahead of us. Like I know what we're gonna have to go through from a learning curve standpoint. But I'm not discounting it either. I'm just not ready to go there. But that being the case, now, like I said, I think we have to stay in the race and let's see what happens in February. But like Oren, I do kind of agree with you, but I'd love to be able to do it with Max. I'm not sure we're 2-2 if Max is there. We may be 4-0.
Wow.
I think Max. A lot of people got really upset at the IWA game that why couldn't we get the ball to Samet? How come Dotan, a freshman center, has the ball in the backcourt? First off, they got the ball to Samet 5 times in a row. It just happens to be the IW had 5 fouls to give. That'll never happen again in the history of basketball. It's the first time I've ever seen it, and it'll be the last.
We were never getting it past half court at that point.
Yeah. I think a game like that, if you have Max Zakheim, you're okay. You could get it to Max, or you could get it to Zevi. And if Max gets it, he's getting it to Zevi because he was cooking. Zevi was cooking.
Or he's going bucket. He has the ability to do that.
That's very good. I played with him over the summer. I played a lot with both of those guys this past summer. And you know, what I like the most about Max is he's low key. Like I just think he's very low key. You don't.
He is a perfect guy. So I think that. So Oren, while you're probably correct in that it's important. I think they're all important for a group that doesn't know how to play together. So,
right.
You know, I'm not going to discount the experience. You know, it's like he didn't come out here and, you know, drop 38 on some podunk university. And
no,
he did it.
Can I ask you something? Yeah. What's the biggest difference? IWU this year versus
IWU last year.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like I said, we were having conversations about before the game, and you know, could we win this game? So let's just say I had knowledge of what was going on and what we were going to do with it. And I said, listen, if we went out there last year and we gave them our best run, and they smoked us like that, I'd be like, nah, we'd never beat them. But we were embarrassing. I'll give you some.
Ryan had 15 shots. That's crazy.
We were embarrassing, and I'm gonna tell you why. Like we had in the 17 year, you know, 17, 18, we go to Purchase. It was either Purchase or the Farmingdale game before that. I like to count passes for the game. So we're averaging like 7 passes per possession, which means basically you're going to get at least 2 ball reversals, and our numbers with 2 ball reversals was well over 67%. Okay, so when we get ball reversals and post touches, we're going back to our offense here a little bit. When we get post touches and ball reversals and forced closeouts, our numbers that year were ridiculous. Okay, the difference between no ball reversals, 1 ball reversal, and 2 ball reversals. No ball reversals. I have the numbers somewhere over here, but I just can't. No ball reversals. We shot like in the 30s, and that would include fast breaks. 1 ball reversal we shot in the 50s, and 2+ ball reversals we were well over 65%. Well over 67. I'm just pulling a number. So. Right. The game against Illinois Wesleyan, we averaged 1.5 passes per possession for the. That's
insane.
Wow.
For a team running motion, that's crazy. That's crazy.
So I say, if we got smoked because we ran 7 passes possession, we got beat and we got killed, we're not winning tonight. However, we didn't give them a run. It's embarrassing what happened. Not because we were embarrassed because we got beat up on national television, so to speak, but because we didn't play the game we're supposed to play. Mm-hmm. So then the difference with them is, 1, I think it was their first game, and having one under our belt helped. 2, I think the Williams, whatever his name is, a big kid, 20, he's going to be an All-American at some point, whether it's this year or next. He's a load. So he had a 20-minute limit kind of thing. I also think that they never saw us coming.
Right. I think they thought we beat him with Ryan and Gabe and Aton.
Yeah, and they never saw us coming. Now, some of those guys, like 23, forgot his name, 23, and you know, Soroka and Heflin, they're all experienced cats, you know. So they have young guys, but they had experienced guys too. And they're playing in the tougher league and all that stuff. And a bunch of guys coming out of yeshiva or something, you know, like
that was coming straight from Reishi.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I'm saying
they have a gym though.
They do, but I'm sure he was in that base.
Yeah,
A lot more than Soroka was. I'll say that much.
But look, there are things we knew about Illinois Wesleyan that we tried to institute last year and install last year that we didn't execute.
I think that was the first time last year's team had felt was a little too Hollywood. I think the Illinois Wesleyan game was the first time that they walked in with a Joe Chill, Joe Cool, Hollywood attitude. You had the line out front like we were going to see,
Roll the ball in. And
Jay-Z.
Take care of business. And then when you do that, and it didn't help that Gabe hurt himself right away, but that's an excuse. That's not a fact. That's a fact and an excuse, but it's not the reason you got beat.
Ryan gets 15 shots. We get technicals from guys coming off the bench. What are we doing?
We missed 4 consecutive layups.
Yeah.
Like we're not sharing the ball. We're not, that's what I'm saying. We didn't guard anybody. The first possession, it was Noah Yoder, a wide open look, and we helped off it, and we have no idea. Like it's right
set the tone.
Smack there in the scouting report.
Set the tone.
And this is what this guy's going to do, and we never executed that. Here we go Saturday night, and these young guys, they don't know better. So they read it and they execute and they run our offense. If you remember, we got layup right away from Roy, I think, on a back cut. Like we started cutting bucket on them right quick. And that made them have to guard us, which opens the floor for Zebi. And they don't see Zebi coming.
No.
You know what I mean? And then nobody sees Roy coming. They don't. I told Roy
nice. I
love that guy. Yeah, I told Roy when we were doing that boot camp, our league is never going to see you coming, boy. That you have no idea. Like we just have guys that you just don't expect it. Like because for 100 years it's been yeshiva. That's the one you circle.
Roy is a gym rat, guys. I don't know if you guys know. I work at YU. I don't know if y'all know. I go to the gym every so often around lunchtime just to take a peek in, say hi to Greg, say hi to Jonathan Schwab at OSL. Roy is always in the gym, shooting shots with the machine. He'll stop what he's doing to say hello. He doesn't know me that well. We played once or twice. He knows I'm Ryan's brother. Like no reason to say hi. He's a nice guy. He's a mensch and he's a gym rat. This guy works his butt off. He's a baller. He's so good. I really like his game.
I don't mean to kind of slight the leftover group because some of them are going to help and some of them.
Oh, you need leaders. You need guys.
We have to look in the macro view now. That's why you go down and you start again and teach again. So,
but you need leaders from the time before to lead the next group into the next. In my opinion, you need a guy like Goff Landau out there to hold the locker room down, set really good screens, get response from the coaches for doing things like that. Like Landau, let's all call a spade a spade. Landau, if we were playing pickup king of the court, he's not, in my opinion, and he's one of my favorite guys. We're playing king of the court, just straight up one-on-one. I'm not sure he's top 7. I'm not sure on this team, but you're talking about a guy who sets the screen, runs the offense, is a leader, plays defense. His defense, he's for sure right now, he's looking like the best defender. You need 100%. You need a guy 100%. Getting minutes who does that so that younger guys look at Landau and go, that's the way to do it. That's the way.
He brings something to the table. Yeah.
That's the way to win. Right.
Something that other guys may not want to do, but
I'm loving everything I'm seeing from him. But go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Harold. Go ahead.
No, but what I'm saying is that the Illinois West, I mean, it helped us that we played a game and got to get our feet wet a little bit, and they hadn't, but they were home. We're traveling, and it's Shabbos, and we're in Chicago, and then we got to get to Bloomington. You know what I mean? Like it's a whole thing. And then we got nothing to lose. Like where you're supposed to lick us, right? Like you're supposed to destroy.
Right.
We're just kind of playing with house's money a little bit, and all of a sudden the game goes on, and you're going like, we can get this back cut here. We're gonna get this open look. But that it's sort of, Jack, goes back to what I was saying before about I'm into the process. Like, what did the process look like that got Zebi those shots? What was the process look like that got us the backup? What, in other words, are we moving too quickly? Are we not hitting anybody on screens? You know what I'm talking about? So yeah. It's like that's sort of, so for everybody else, you know, let's just, we go, you know, and wet the bed someday. We may look at that and the fans will be like, yeah, we didn't plow, we should have, you know, and of course you lose a game and everybody's like, you should ditch this off, you know, like, and like, because, and I'm kind of sitting around going, we got to be something like 82-10 in our last 92, or something in that ridiculous neighborhood. And I'm just kind of like, do you not think we know what we're doing here? Like, do you not think Elliot has an idea of what we're trying to accomplish? Like, yeah, we need you to walk. And everybody's got an opinion. You know, these guys need to blah, blah, blah. These guys need to blah. They should ball screen more. They should this more. They should do that more. Get a little isolation here. Dude, so let us do our, let him do his job.
Yeah.
And I believe, you know, I tell you a great story. It happened with Turell and Goodman's dad, actually. Okay. So I'm coaching his older brother. I know his dad a little bit, but I don't really know him. His brother's never played basketball before, you know, but he's our best player. We're playing that school we're not supposed to play. I'm at Talmudical Academy, right? And he does something that wasn't appropriate. I sit him down for the rest of the day. We end up beating him. And dad comes up to me, big, tall dude, about 6'4", he's an attorney. Hey, coach, good game. Yeah, it would have been great if Ruvain played. Yeah, it would have been awesome. I mean, he's our best player. Well, you know, why didn't you play? I said, well, he did something that wasn't appropriate, you know, and you know, we can't do that here. He says, well, let me tell you something about Ruvain. He's just going off on the kid, how great the kid is. And I say, Mr. Goodman, what is it that you do? He says, I'm a lawyer. And I said, when's the next time you're in court? And he says, tomorrow. I said, what time? He says, 9 o'clock. I said, where? He says, Towson. I say, what courtroom? He goes, 5. Why do you want to know? And I said, because tomorrow I'm going to go to your job and I'm going to start talking to you about stuff I know nothing about.
Oh my goodness.
And he looked at me and he went, touche, coach. And for the next,
my goodness.
I had him and his brothers and Tamir, and he would always sit at half court. That was his seat next to my camera. And every time somebody started to give me grief, he'd always go, this is his vocation. You understand that? He don't come to your job, start telling you what to do. Don't come to his job. You know,
oh my goodness.
Like everybody's like, but I played basketball. Well, dude, I've been to the dentist. You want me drilling your teeth? But there is a certain surface level for a player, and then there's, you know, a level of you got to put a team together. You have to handle everything that comes along with that, including, am I going to foul, you know, with under 5 seconds to go in a game? And everybody's like, you got to foul. You know, Billis is always like that.
Right.
I'm not sure I have to foul right there. And here's why. Because I have told my team the entire year we can get stops with what we do on defense. And now the one time I need to stop with a lead, I'm going to tell my guys, we got to foul here. Nah. I win the battle, I lose the war. Because from then on, my guys are always like, well, we could have done this. You know what I mean? Nah. If I lose a game, I lose a game because the percentage difference is like 1.4% or something.
Right.
Between the teams that foul and teams that don't foul, overtime or not overtime, it's minuscule. And is that 1%? Now, if it's the last game of the year and I'm not having this team again, I might foul. But it's not. I'm in charge of that locker room. I've told them since October 15th that we can get stops. No matter what we do, we can get stops. And I'm going to turn around and foul them because it's prudent. I win the battle, I lose the war. And to me, it's always been about the war. Like, it's always been about the macro view of a season, the macro view of your locker room. It goes all the way back to what Jack asked earlier. You know, how do you control it? Like, it's about the undercurrent of your basketball team, you have to take care of that. It's a dangerous area. You understand what I mean? And it can
100%.
percolate and destroy, as some of us have witnessed in the past. So,
Yeah.
and that's why when say Elliott doesn't foul in that situation, I think it's awesome. It takes guts not to foul. It takes guts to rely on what we do. We're either going to do it, guys, or we're going to fail at it, but we're going to do it our way. And if we fail at it, you take accountability, take responsibility, and it's next game. What I think happened was we played Formandale at 17 in a row, and we end up giving up a bucket because we don't foul. And then somebody calls a timeout, which was nuts, but they do it in the NBA, so the kid thought, and then we end up turning the ball over and lose the game, and that spiraled our seat. Like then we can't beat Purchase because we can't even get our feet out from under us. Get our feet back from where we just lost focus. We got lost in we still could add home court advantage if we
Yeah, I remember that game.
And then the ball hits the side and everybody's going nuts. Everybody's like, well, we would have won if it didn't hit the side. Dude, we gave up 95 points.
Yeah, I remember that. They shoot
Give up 95 points. Okay.
That was a big controversy.
Yeah,
but that's a good point. We didn't play any game.
It's 95 points. So you say whatever we want about that. Yeah, you're right. It hit the side and it's a wrong call. It never should have been there. We couldn't stop a cold that night. So you know what I mean? Like what it's about stops, period, end of discussion. And if we are going to succeed in this season that we're in right now, we had better get stops. We're going to be able to put the ball in a basket, but we better get stops.
Well, that's why I like a guy like Landau and Markovich and Zucker
and Zekheim. Trust me.
I'm looking forward to, I'm looking forward to see. I only played pickup with him, so I haven't seen him in that situation. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in that situation.
He is not a guy I want to bring the ball up the floor against. He's
excellent downhill. I could say that much.
He is.
All right, Oren, should we throw him?
Yeah, Jack. I think you have to recuse yourself from this one.
Well, no, I obviously know the right.
Okay.
I can't wait. I'm sure it's a question I've never heard before.
Coach, you're gonna love this because it doesn't involve you criticizing any player. Okay.
No criticism.
But okay.
But I know the right.
I got you.
Just hear me. Just hear me out. Hear me out.
I got you, Oren. I just know where it's going. Go ahead.
It has to go here.
Okay.
First pod.
Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out.
It has to go here.
Three players.
King of court.
Tamir Goodman, Ryan Turell, Zevi Samet. Name Tamir's biggest strength among those three players, Ryan's biggest strength among those three players, and Zevi's biggest strength among those
who wins?
Not that part. Not that part. I promise I wouldn't.
Who wins?
You have to be clear, Jack. Are we talking about the 23-year-old Ryan or the 17-year-old Ryan?
It's a really good question.
Goodman, everybody references is the one in 11th grade in high school. Let's be clear. Nobody references the 12th grade Tamir. It's 11th grade when he blew up and got a scholarship offer. So we're going to try now. We're going to imagine yourself at 17, Jack, and then imagine Ryan at 17. And I saw Ryan at 17. Right. Yeah. When it comes to the three guys at 17 years old, there's a clear winner.
It's Tamir. Tamir's about 17-year-old. Those two probably.
Of course. Now.
But Tamir played professionally at 23. You could say 23-year-old Tamir versus 23-year-old Ryan. You could have.
That's 100%.
You can have that conversation. Yeah.
You can have that conversation.
That means not 23 yet. So he would be obviously.
I think by the time he was, the only thing I'd say is by the time he was 23, he already had 2 knee surgeries because he got hurt at 21 playing professionally, right? So, at that point, he lost explosion, and I'm not going to make excuses with Tamir. He's a great player. So the answer to your question is I plead the fifth. No, actually, I'll be fair. The one thing Tamir had over both of them, he's the best passer I've ever watched play basketball. And he's as good a passer as Steph Marbury and Jason Kidd and Isaiah. He's like at that level of passer. I'm not calling him those guys. I'm saying his ability.
We get what you're saying.
His ability to pass the basketball. I don't want to say what we say about it, but he's the oh crap guy. You know what I'm trying to say. He's like,
oh snap.
yeah. Oh, that's what he did. Like, he brought you out your seat. That's what's up. Okay. The best shooter of the group is Zevi Sam.
Zevi's kind of unreal. And both those other two are excellent shooters.
Yeah. Tamir was a phenomenal shooter. But Zevi's just, at 17, Tamir's a better shooter than Zevi. At 19.
No way. Come on. Dr. Katz, what are we?
I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. Because Zevi was a good shooter, but he wasn't this now. This is
what Zevi is now. What about Tamir at 19? I'm not talking Zevi at 19.
Zevi's a better shooter at 19.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Zevi didn't have a senior season of high school.
No,
that's fair. That's fair. And what Tamir would be really upset if I talked about this, but let's finish the question first, and then if you want, you can ask me what I'm talking about. But I think Tamir's the best passer of the group, Zevi's the best shooter of the group, and Ryan's the best footwork of the group. In other words, Ryan's footwork was so extraordinary. I loved watching him play because of how great his feet are. People have no idea how important that is.
We saw it tonight actually with Motor City. He had this big three, right? Pump fake and then shot the three for the win.
Yeah, and then they gave him another 12 seconds in the second half. At least, unless he played the last couple of minutes, which
we don't know.
No, I don't think so. We went live.
I don't know what they're doing out there.
So here's my thing. I think that's like Tamir's level of passing is as Mike Sweetney would tell you, it's just a different level of passing that you don't see. He was the smartest passer I ever saw, I've ever coached. Not to put any stuff on Zevi, but I'm gonna tell you something. Zevi, we haven't seen him hot because Zevi doesn't get hot. This is just Zevi.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like Zevi doesn't get hot. This is Zevi. Zevi, there are no hot days for Zevi. This is just Zevi. This is what Zevi's become. It's kind of Zevi. There'll be games where maybe like the other day where he started slow or whatever, but didn't get hot. He just, this is what he does. He's like,
I have a funny Zevi story. He was at my son's bris, and my TABC summer league team was playing his TABC summer league team that night. I'm taking a few shots. The boys doing a couple of whiskeys. Ryan brings Zevi because they're very close.
Popping them up.
They're very close. The next one. That's to do a shot. Zevi doesn't drink. He balls. He learns. He doesn't drink. He goes up, and Ryan goes, "This is like the next kid. He's the number one player in high school." I'm a few shots in. I'm a little confident. I'm the Ryan Turell of the rec leagues. You know, I've won a few rec leagues.
We got you tonight.
We didn't even you MVP last season.
No, I'm a good rec league player. I'm talking so much smack to Zevi. I'm like, listen here, Sonny. Listen here, Junior. Like you don't know what hit you. You may be. I'm gonna show you when an adult how an adult. Zevi Samet put probably 75 points on us. We threw
he scored around.
He scored everyone.
Yeah.
I called ham Dr. Samet, Grandpa Samet, Daddy Samet the rest of the summer. He was Mr. Samet to me.
Let me tell you something. The great part about Zevi is when he does it, or at least when he used to before he went to Yeshiva, he lets you know he just did it to you too.
Bro, he still has it. He still has it there. He'll remind me. And he'll say, like, I remember that bris where you said, and I put 75 on it.
Jack and I are in a WhatsApp group with some players in our summer league, and there was this whole debate this morning on if Zevi will go the distance with YU ball because of his level of firmkeit. What's your thought on that?
First of all, I never
Oren,
first of all, it's a bad iron heart, first of all. But second of all, I never discourage guys from learning Torah. So that's the first thing.
Right.
So, second, I just think he loves the game too much. I'll say this. I don't have any, I probably shouldn't say it because it's not fair to the kid. He can play, and he can play for the next decade and a half if he wants.
Wow. By
By the way, if he does that, he'll have so much time to learn. Like, you go to shoot
So
around.
he's learning. First of all, he's in
Right.
incredible programs. YU has incredible learning programs,
Yeah.
incredible smicha programs. Reitz is incredible.
Right. Tyler Hood is in Smicha, and
I'm not even saying Tyler Hood. He could be beyond anything he wants to do. But yes, Tyler Hood's a great example. But also, secondly, there's no bigger like thing in Yiddishkeit than being a Kiddush Hashem. Like, just look at the Kiddush Hashem that Ryan was as a modern, very modern Orthodox Jew.
and is still doing.
He's very much, but Zevi's like legitimately rabbinical. You know what I'm saying? Like the amount of Kiddush Hashem that he could do and the kids that he could reach.
Well, I think
with this kind of thing, it's like it's beyond anything he'd be able to. You could always go back to Israel. You could always become the Rebbe. But the reach that he has right now, it's an amazing opportunity, an amazing platform.
The reach he has now is byproduct of everything we've talked about in 2017. It's all a byproduct.
Yeah, it all stems back.
It all stems back to that. Okay, and Ryan Turell and Gabe Leifer. Like it stems back to all this.
No, I agree. It's about laying a foundation.
Right. So now the question is there a monster in the basement? And I believe he has a monster in the basement. And so you play until the monster in the basement. Judah didn't have that anymore. Like he just told me, I just want to go learn with this guy. But as much as much as I love Judah, he wasn't this. But could you imagine Judah with that group? Because Judah was a perfect.
No, he'd be great. I love Judah. Judah Cohen's one of my
perfect motion guy, and him playing with Donnie Sim, Gay. Oh my God!
He was a big loss.
Remember, he'd have still been there that year we went the first time without Ryan. The first year, he'd have been a junior on that team. Then we go to.
Or how about Yisrael Feld, the amazing freshman year he had, and then.
But I don't think. But
Feld played for a bunch of more years, though. I don't know what the comparison.
I'm not going to say anything bad about Yisrael, but I will say this: Yisrael was ball dominant. So you had if you're a ball dominant guy, you won't succeed in this offense. If you're ball dominant, which means you got to dribble it. That's how you get your bones. Like, that's what I mean. There's some guys, and Oren, I know you can think of ridiculously talented high school ball dominant players who should have come to YU and didn't because they weren't going to fit in our locker room, and our leaders at that point said, good as he is, he's going to kill us. He's going to kill us. We have a hard enough time dealing with this guy. We cannot add another this guy, right? So you know what I'm talking about.
I want to circle it back.
Yeah, go ahead.
Each at their primes that we've seen so far, because we don't know what their primes are. So Tamir in his prime, whatever year that was. Ryan in his prime is probably whatever year that was. Probably right now. Probably 23. Zevi right now. King of the court. Who we taking?
Oh my God, you put him on the spot, Jack. You promised.
Listen, here's the thing. Okay, now I'll give up a little bit. We've been dealing with Zevi Samet since he's 13 years old. Nobody kind of knows that. Because Tamir reached out to me and said this. I probably shouldn't put it out there. I already did, I guess.
For another time, then.
Tamir reached out and said, I got this rabbi who sent me an email about his son. What should I do? And the first thing I did was say, hey, let's make sure he puts it in his left hand, and you'll see the reps that he's going to have to make, and we'll see how good, how much work he does, and then you see if he, and then little by little they talk on the phone or whatever. I'm, and when I see Zevi at the boot camp, the first time I ever talked to him, I say, you remember those emails? And say, yeah, well, you and I have actually met before. You just don't know it yet. So it's not fair, Jack, simply because of metrics. Ryan's going to take everybody down in the post. I mean, if that, you know what I mean? It's just not, it's kind of not. Here's the thing. Zevi's bag.
He's got a bag.
We haven't seen it.
He's got a bag of tricks.
So many weapons at his disposal.
He's got Santa's sack of toys. He's got.
Let me tell you what makes him, why he's only going to get better. He doesn't have this. His stamina's not great yet.
Mm-mm.
Then he's gonna have to play through it. And the more he screens and the more he learns what we're doing, it's gonna be like Simcha. The better he's gonna get. Go circle back to that Calvert Cheney story a minute. I'm driving home from a game. Poppers probably knows what game it is. Simcha has 2 points in the first half and 32 in the second, I think, or 30 in the second. I think it was Merchant Marine. I'm not sure, sophomore year. He ends up with 34, so it was something like that. I'm driving home, and Elliot calls me up on the way back, and he goes, it's like 1 a.m, and I'm in Delaware or something. He goes, I have my Calvert Cheney. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, Sim at 30 in the second half. I said, yeah, I was there. And he goes, you know how long he had it in his hands? Take a guess, fellas. Played 19
Barely. No, Sim didn't need the ball to be super efficient.
19 minutes.
Sim's my guy. I ride or die for Sim. He was the best player of my era. I mean, I obviously I couldn't continue.
20 minutes.
He's I ride or die for Sim. I'm a big Sim guy.
How long did he have in his hands?
3 minutes.
47 seconds.
Klay Thompson.
30 points. If you want to get to a kid, this goes all the way back. You want to tell a kid and sell a kid about what we're about to run, that's how you do it. The problem for the kid is that means for the other 19 minutes and 13 seconds, I got to do something else. I got to dribble. I got to screen. I got to pass. But that's why he was the perfect motion guy.
I have a big question for you.
Yeah,
I'm going to ask you because we have you on the podcast.
Go ahead, man.
I'm going to throw it your way. One of the more brilliant things that I thought Steinman's Coach S has done and things that you had brought up was 2016, 2017, maybe. Forget which year it was, the year I played. Our point guards are Jordan Hode and Isaac Merwitz and Judah Cohen, all under 5'10".
Before Donnie gets there, right?
Before Donnie gets there, but they had their leaders. They had a good, we won.
Yeah, that was my last year running Max.
That was smoked at Old West.
Simons had just taken over. He had just taken over, and we were running a lot of pick and roll. And one of the things that were brought up, and wherever it was from, but I thought it was a great point that you can't run a pick and roll with these guys who are 5'9", because they could trap it. What are they going to do? What are you going to do? They're 5'9". They can't see over the day. When you get a guy, when you get Ryan Turell, who's 6'7", how do you stay so disciplined not to go like, well, we could. Let me finish. We could do what Old Westbury did to us because now we have the athletes to beat them at that game, right? You said earlier, we'll never have the athletes. But this one-off chance where we had the athletes to beat them at the game, how do you keep it so disciplined? Well, how do you prevent yourself from going there? What's simple? Would we have been better off doing that? Would we have been worse off? What's the argument? How do you keep yourself?
Here's the argument. Again,
have the best athletes.
Again, it's a macro view. I'm not convinced I had the best athletes, but it's the macro view, okay? And the macro view is I got a couple really great athletes here. But if you told me, I'm a defensive guy, really, and if you told me that I got to blitz Ryan Turell and I get the ball out his hands on this pick and roll, I'd take that 100 out of 100.
That's a good point.
You want me to kick that to Ofek? Coming off that screen and roll? Dude, no. Like, I'm going to blitz the ball screen. So now I've taken Ryan 34 feet from the basket. I've already trapped him. So now he has to give it up. That's all I ever wanted. I can win without the ball in Ryan Turell's hand. So you're asking me by ball screening to bring defense to the ball. You want to bring more defense to the ball. That's what the ball screen does, whether we like it or not. The ball screen brings more defense to the ball. And so I am not adverse to ball screening if our movement, I pass, I go screen away. Ball gets skipped to the other side. When I get there,
you're there.
Passes.
Yeah.
I'm here anyway. Pop it, because the closeout's going to be late, and then we just get that, okay?
Yeah.
I'm watching the Motor City Cruise tonight, and every time they ball screen, the guy with the ball screen never scored the ball.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Usually, it's either a kick to the corner, the roll to the bucket, which it kicks to the corner. It's almost never the ball. So you told me that I have a chance to get the ball out of Ryan Turell's hands. Now, coaches don't think that way because there's like, okay, ball screen, NBA, blah, blah, blah. The discipline of it is this. Is that the best way for Ofek to play? Is that the best way for Gabriel to play? Think about this. If you put Gabriel in a ball screen offense for 4 years, do you think Gabriel does what he does? You think he's got
not passing wise? Definitely not.
And then
I think rebounding, he rebounds. Scoring,
yeah, but
or passing.
He'll rebound regardless of what system.
He wouldn't have scored, and he wouldn't have had assists like that. No. His positives were his vision. His positives were
right.
So it's the macro view. Again, you win the battle and you lose the war. And part of the reason I think we started messing around with it a little bit, and because everybody's doing it, and that's what they're doing. Everybody's doing it. We see that every effing night. We see ball screen every night. I'll give you a story. We're playing in Johns Hopkins in Baltimore in the NCAA tournament.
Right.
We can't prepare for this team from Harrisburg, so we just have a scouting report, and we're going to go. Here's the one saving grace we had: is we saw their offense 29 different times all year. You get that?
Right.
They saw us once that night.
Yeah.
So everybody runs it, Jack. That's why the pack line is so popular, because it's made to defend against the pick and roll. It plays gaps, it squeezes. So while everybody throws it out here and says, yeah, that's what you should be doing because analytics, let's just get to this analytics. I just want to get this off my chest. Don't get me started on this thing. We are consistently every year, look it up, NCAA, we're top 5 in field goal percentage, if not 1 or 2, in field goal percentage, in assists, in 3-point field goal percentage. We are the analytics dream. And the way we get there is an analytics nightmare. We get there back to the basket, which you're not supposed to do.
Right,
we get there mid-range, not supposed to do. Like the way we get there, we don't get there off the dribble driver to pick and roll, which is an analytics nightmare because you're supposed to force the switch to the whole. We get there a whole different way. So while we are an analytics dream, we are their kind of kryptonite at the same time. Yeah, so then everybody's like, everybody talked to me about analytics, and I don't have to name, but if you did this and if you did that with that, look, analytics is based on NBA numbers. You get that? These numbers of this is 40%, and that's Kevin Durant and James Harden and Serge Ibaka. Those numbers that everybody uses for analytics are NBA numbers. So they go, well, the numbers don't lie. No, they don't. But if I'm playing Moshe Pipic, I better find a different way because I don't have Kevin Durant. So that little 40% that may look good to you is 22% to me. And I'm going to run an analytics-based idea with a guy who cannot shoot. Well, then get your shooters who can. We don't have that. There's no Klay Thompsons running around. We have that now, but there's no Klay Thompsons running around. We just pick them up to shoot. I'll get 5 of them. I'll have Kyle Korver and Klay and Stat. Let's put them all on the same team. It just doesn't work that way. So everybody buys analytics. And then it's really cool. I was watching the NCAA tournament this summer with this analytics thing in my head. Division I, and you look at the halftime shooting statistics combined, they're 2 for 6. One's 2 for 16, the other one's 3 for 15. And you just go from 3, and you just go, is that what analytics is giving us? Like, that's the point. Like, we don't have Klay shooting it. We got a really good college basketball player shooting it, but it's analytically not going to turn out to be the way the analytics people do. Well, the numbers don't lie, but the talent is different. Right. So the talent can't generate the number. Because the talent, regardless of who it is, even Pinchero or whatever, you're limited to the ceiling of that talent within the system and the players you're playing with. So while the analytics idea, which I'm not totally averse to, mind you, when nobody in the world in 1998 was shooting a bunch of threes I was shooting them all night. Like we're running this. So we were.
I mean, this offense does generate
a
lot of threes.
We're 15 years ahead of our time. 50.
Well, there is post-ups and mid-range. There is a lot of threes within the offense.
Right. No, for sure. I mean, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
I get it. But what I'm saying, but it does come from inside out. The idea is to come from inside out. Okay. So we can get away because of Zevi or Simcha or Ryan. We can get away some nights with like not going inside out. But inside out is the way to beat it because it forces the closeout. That's what our screens are designed to do. That's what the ball reversals are designed to do. Right. So analytically, while it's a great idea based on NBA numbers, I'm not playing with NBA players. It's an NBA discussion, analytics, and they bring it down to this level of high school basketball or college basketball and just say, well, we should be able to. We can't do that because one guy on Duke is going to the pros. One guy on Carolina is going to the pro, right?
One guy in yeshiva
is going to the pro. Exactly. That's exactly
nicely put, Jack.
That's a good point.
Exactly the point. And so I know Shua would argue with me because he has for today tomorrow. But the point is that the numbers don't lie. He's correct. It's the talent that makes all the difference in the world. And the talent defines the numbers. The numbers don't define the talent.
I'm excited for this season, guys. This is a lot of fun. Oren, do we have anything we want to wrap? You have any final? We've been 2 hours on. I don't want to bore.
Yeah, no, we're definitely going to wrap up. I do want to give Coach an easy question though, because we kind of put him in some awkward positions with some of our questions. But
I've handled them, dude. I've handled them. Listen, I love all 3 of those guys. I've dealt with all 3 of those guys. I'm not as close as I am with Samir and Ryan. I mean, I spent a whole.
And you will be though. I feel like
will be over time.
Year 1 of Samet, you weren't as close with Ryan year 1 as you were Ryan year 4.
Right. No, we currently we talked last Friday.
You and Ryan are very tight. Yes. Ryan talks very highly of you. Ryan,
I love Ryan, even though he's a blind man. He'll know exactly what I mean by that.
I'll ask him. I don't know what that means.
Coach,
brother. I don't know him as we talk like brothers.
I love him, and I talk to him.
This thing with Ryan, I'm like, me and Ryan talk about stupid sitcoms and like Batman and like dumb brother stuff. Like, leave everything else out. You know?
No, Zeb and I spoke Friday. One of the things we talked about was the things that he could get away with, in Ghana Pamon that he can't get away with. Like when he tried at St. Joe to kind of go through the middle,
right
down the middle is not a.
So Oren, you were saying.
Well, Coach, quickly, Motzei Shabbos, what are your plans? MSAC or Max Live?
Max Live. Because sadly, it's Max Live without Oren Glickman. But
they do a good job.
But it's not quiet here in the Katz household.
No, I believe that.
Between me and my wife,
And I definitely have to ask you one, Coach. I definitely have to ask you one question about your team.
Yeah.
Makor Chaim, tier 1 this year for Sarachek?
Well, I mean, that would be. Look, we're the youngest team in that tournament a year ago, and your students smoked us to that.
Right, Hilla.
Yeah, I'm not going. I don't know how this stuff works. I just know that we'll have plenty of opportunity. We're older, we're bigger, we're stronger. It doesn't necessarily mean we're better. I do believe we will have earned whatever I can't really say that because I know how this political thing works, but I believe we'll be of the better teams in the country at the end of the year. I mean, there's 30 kids in the school, 32 kids in the school. So
yeah,
it's not like we're turning around and we have 150 to choose from, right? We have, maybe.
I think it's so funny that
I think it speaks more. I think that speaks to how impressive this young group of guys are then.
Well, I mean, they put in a lot of work. And I believe we had a discussion today. One of my players said,
"You guys beat Eula last year, right?"
We did.
How tasty is that?
I mean,
Even though it was Eula and an off year, a school of their
tour.
size losing to a school of McCourt
As a Valley Tour guy, anytime you beat you,
Unbelievable.
it's very tasty.
well, I was happy for our guys because we'd never done anything like that before. And we were just really, even in the game, the last 2 minutes of the game, I'd never watched it until a couple of weeks ago. And the last two, we're throwing that thing all over the gym. But we got stops, and that we kind of, and what we didn't do at 1 a.m. on Saturday night, I repeat, what we didn't do at 1 a.m. on Saturday night when we were playing was get stops or take care of the basketball. And I think everything, I ended up being sick the last 2 days, so I was a little out of it. In particular, Hilla comes with a triangle into, and I'm just kind of like, you know what? I don't got the strength for this nonsense. I want to go home. I've got 103 fever. I'm ready to go. I think I had COVID, so I was just, Sunday night my team went out to eat. I couldn't go because I went back to I was asleep. So like we're playing at 1 o'clock in the morning, and we had to get up at 9:30 to play. It was one of those. And you're driving an hour and a half away, so. Right. It was a lot of stuff going on. The answer to your question is I don't know, but we're coming to New York for the Saturn tournament, so we should be able to cut our teeth on that. I think at some point Megan David's coming down here, so we're going to try to get them. My school just told me that they're going to Waterbury for the weekend. Want to know if we wanted to play those guys? The December schedule I put together is the hardest schedule I've ever had, not including the Premier year when we played, like Carmelo and those guys, like that league. So I know I'm not into all the
projections.
It doesn't do me any good because we still got to play. And right now we have two kids who aren't playing right now, who are major producers for us.
Right.
One of them, Donnie Carter, has a broken.
Sure. Heard that name circled around a lot.
A broken wrist. Well, I know Hillel triangled him, so he has a broken wrist, which I think a hairline fracture in his wrist, which I think is going to be. He should be ready, God willing, December 1st. They bumped him back another month, and then we have another kid who has a bad ankle, probably our most athletic kid. So when we get all that together, I'd like to think we're guarding people. We didn't in the first half of our opening night, but we did in the second half. I was happy about that. But, listen, we execute our stuff. The problem is we come to New York and we saw one possession of man-to-man in 4 games. One
That's
possession.
True.
Played by Eula. Played by Eula. And we got an and one on it. And that was the only possession we saw man. And we saw man, and our guys were like, let's go. Because over here, everybody plays man.
Yeah, LA same thing.
So what I did, I just scheduled some zone guys now. And I'm like, we're gonna do zone work during the season, because if we're going to New York, we'll go to Saturn and we'll see zone. We'll go to Eula and we'll see. We've got to be able to handle that,
Yeah.
We can shoot the ball. We can shoot the ball a little bit. That's Donnie Carter can shoot it, and John Rosen can shoot it, and Isaac Wrightberg can shoot it. We got guys who can shoot it. So then the question is just, can we guard it? Take care of it.
They're in incredible hands, and I hope they realize how blessed they are to be.
They don't, and they suck because of it. They were telling, I'll tell you a great story of one of my players. I probably shouldn't say it. One of my players, he comes home from Miami to play in a game last year. By the way, he got really good now, and I'm really happy he's playing for us. And so I was a little, I'm hard on him. Halftime, Mom's giving me the business. He got off the plane to play for you, I'm like, listen, if you want me to talk, I will talk to you after the game all night. But right now, I'm working. So I don't come to your job and start telling you what to do. Don't come to mine and start. I'll be glad to talk to you. You want to light me up? I got no problem with that. Okay. I look around and turn to her ex-husband, and he looks at me and goes, "Hey, I dealt with her for 17 years.
Oh my goodness.
You could deal with her for 5 minutes. He's like, you could deal with her for 5 minutes. I love her. We have a great relationship. I love him. We have a good relationship. Look, I'm not for everybody, because I am going to call you out. Like, what do you think? You're going to go to work, Jack? What happens at work when you mess up?
Oh, you hear it.
They just go, hey, Jack, you think next time it's not like that. It's like, dude, I'm paying you money. That's what's up. It's about accountability. And look, this is really cool. I don't know if you've heard this. I'm not going to pimp somebody else's podcast, but for this moment, there's a tablet podcast with Tamir from a couple weeks ago, maybe. The Tablet Magazine did a story about Tamir, okay? And one of the things I used to tell my guys is, we went to the YU tournament, and I was asked a question, and we had this press conference with all these, there was like a mess of cameras. Well, Barry Bound from the New York Post says to me, Coach, is this your best year? And I say, well, I don't know. And he goes, do they not keep records at your school? I said, no, I mean, I know what a record is, but like, if in 20 years from now, our guys have no relationship with their kids, they're not leaders of their community, they don't have a great relationship with their spot, what do? We won some basketball games? Really? Right. That's it? But in 20 years, if they're leaders of men, if they're great relationship with their children, if they have a great relationship with their family, we had a hell of a year, regardless of what our record is. So Tamir actually remembers that and tells that to the lady, and she kind of underscores that the whole time, all the way through the pie. I was very moved by the fact that that's a message I think every coach needs to hear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think coaches, even in the Yeshiva League, it's just winning the banner and winning a championship. It's not just the Yeshiva League. I'm saying even in the Yeshiva League, where we are, we have a different underlying value. But that is the correct answer. Like, as far as I'm concerned, that's always been the correct answer. So I speak at the YU tournament last year, and I said, who do you want to be? Like, what kind of person do you want to be? You just want to be a basketball player? Really? That's it? Really? Like, I'm a basketball coach. I've been doing this for 4 decades. And it's from my mouth where I say, really? That's all you want to be? You just want to be a good basketball player? Do you not want to be a good person? Do you not want to be a good, a person who people look at and go, that's a Jew right there. That's immense. That guy, I want that guy to come home and marry my daughter. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So that's always been my take on it. And even with everything we're doing at YU, Elliot's approach is one I am totally behind, and that whether the Jewish community likes it or not, it's in some facet or another a face of the Jewish community, and what's that face supposed to look like, right?
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Look, you say you're not for everyone, but I could not think of a better guest to have for this inaugural podcast.
Yes, we're the guests, the Harold Katz podcast, baby.
Yeah, no, it was my podcast.
It's your podcast.
Jack, what the hell kind of producer are you, bud?
I'm not I'm clearly a rookie producer. That's clearly what this is.
My thing is, I thank you for inviting me. I'm not sure I'm worth.
Well, this is your pod. Thank you for having us.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm not sure anybody would want to listen.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to delve into this subject. I wish even that we could go even deeper into, as I explained to you, the back screen thing before with the switch and the slip and all that. I would.
Right.
There's so much more.
Well, we can't.
Yeah.
We hopefully we can keep this up.
Season's young.
It's been a lot of fun. I've had a blast.
I'm here next week.
High intellectual basketball discussion.
I'll be here at 9:00 next Thursday.
Let's go.
Sounds great.
I'll wait to hear from you if you want.
I got me a bottle of Patron. Let's do this.
Okay, well, I got
we want to thank our viewers who are going to tune in at a later time. Thank you so much to Coach Katz for taking time out of his busy schedule to talk with us. YU next game Saturday night, 8:30 against the Farmingdale State Rams. They'll hope to go above 500 in their overall record and go to 2-0 in Skyline play. Jack, you want to take it home?
You guys been watching the Harold Katz podcast featuring Oren, Glickman, and Jack Turell. We hope to see you guys next time we're on, maybe be it next week or moving forward. And brought to you by the YU Hanukkah Dinner, 98th annual. Hope to see you guys there. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Coach Katz, man, it's such an honor to be a producer and to have Oren on board. Oren,
that's my dream come true
right now.
Oren,
Oren's great, man. Oren's the real deal. To have him on board really made this.
Guys, we're still recording though. That's the problem.
Oh snap!
You're supposed to compliment me after.
Yeah. I'm out. I think we're good.
I will tell gentlemen.
All right. Good to see you, Coach. Have a good night.
And